to my final flip through of my 2025 reading journals. I was not able to fit all the goodness into one journal, so this year I used two separate journals, completely filling the first and partially filling the second. So I still have plenty of room to add more book spreads at the end of 2026. This year I did a combination of using Archer and Olive's Dot Grid Square Notebook and another one by Tiefossi. I love both of these brands and I think they did an excellent job at holding up to all of the pressure I put in them, since I love to completely fill these journals. Many times I choose the journal based on the design, so I love how well these two complemented each other. This year I went with a pirate themed journal, so I started off my journal with a piratey spread dedicated to some of my favorite books, which were Daughter of the Pirate King series and the Fable series. One addition that I really loved in this journal was the distressed edges. I did this on every single page of this first chunk of journal, and I did that by tearing the page and using a distressed ink kit, which is just a sponge and an ink pad. And that's what gives all of these torn pieces of paper a little bit of an aged design. I was obsessed with this tool when I found it, and I think it really made the difference in this journal. Beyond that, most of the supplies I used were just neutral, kind of a brown toned washi tapes throughout the journal, a lot of old scripted fonts to look like an old captain's log, and then of course lots of piratey pictures. Of my 2025 reading goals, I finished most of them with the exception of reading 25 books from my TBR and planning a book getaway. This is my captain's log where I logged every single book I read this year. I have multiple pages to flip through, and it helps me to track the title, the author, the order of which I finished the book, when I finished it, what format I read it in, and if I was borrowing it or reading from my own shelves. Overall, I ended the year at 123 books. This page was meant to be a first line page, so the very first line of the book I was going to write down. The first couple books I read had really boring first lines, so instead of going with the first line, I just summarized the book in one sentence, and I kept going until I filled the end of this page, and then I stopped. I really don't think I'm going to be referring back to this, so it's something that I'm not carrying through into my next journal. Then we have Buried Treasure. At the beginning of 2025, I wrote down every single book that was on my shelves, and then every month I would color in the spine of the book in the month that I read it. So overall, I think I did a really good job in reading my own bookshelves. Obviously, this page is not completely covered in because there's no way I could have read over 200 books last year, but I think it shows how significant of a dent I did make in reading my physical TBR. Pirate's Booty is just a list of all of the books that I purchased this year, and Walk the Plank are for my zeros and DNFs. These were the books that I either didn't enjoy after fully reading them, or I gave them a fair shot after them being on my shelves for a very long time and just decided they weren't for me. My bounty is a log of different statistics I wanted to track throughout the month, like how many books I was reading and how that was split between pages read with my eyes versus hours listening to an audiobook. I also wanted a page to account for all of the nonfiction books that I read. I didn't set myself a specific nonfiction goal, but I do like to remember what I was reading that wasn't completely fiction. On this page, I had a section for ARCs, or Advanced Reader's Copies, and I ran out of space, so I made this little tip in. On this side, I have all my anticipated reads of 2025, and the ones that have been colored in are the ones that I was able to read this year. The Crew is a special page for me since most of the books that I enjoy are via audiobook. So this was a special challenge which encouraged me to pick up a physical book and read it with my eyeballs. All of these books were ones that I read that way, and once I finished, I would color in the spine as close to the actual book spine as possible. I love looking at this page because I think all of these books I spent extra time in, and it just warms my heart to see them all together on one page. This is my series tracker, and the way this method works is I write down the name of the series, and then I create boxes for how many books are in that series. Any black box you see are books that I read previous to 2025, and all of the colorful boxes are books that I finished within 2025. You can see my color key up above, and this is the same color key that I use on the different pages throughout my trackers in my journal. I just felt it was redundant to have this key in multiple places, so I just use the same key throughout. Once I finish the series, I'll fill in the black square on the left, or I'll notate if I'm continuing it, like a series like ACOTAR, that hasn't even been completely written yet, is obviously one that is going to migrate into a new journal. Or if there's a series I gave a fair shot and then didn't enjoy, I will mark with an X, as I don't want to continue that series going forward. On this page, we have my buddy reads and my booktube favorites. These were just special memories throughout the year of books that I intentionally read with some of my friends, and these were some memories of my booktube experience this year. Then I have a log for all of the 12 books that we read in my Book Besties book club, and the same for my Book Babes book club. So many amazing books that we read this year. Then we get into my 2025 reading challenges, and that brings us to one of our first updates. So on the left, I have a little icon for all of the different readathons I participated in this year. I really loved this, and I feel like at a glance I can just remember everything I was involved in. So I am excited to carry this through into my 2026 journal. But my destinations page was a little bit tricky because I made this really lovely map in which I was going to write down all of the places that I traveled through books. The problem was I knew that I was going to run out of space way too quickly. So what I ended up doing is I wrote in all of the names of the fantasy places on my fantasy map, and I converted all of my other bits of information, which I've been keeping on Post-its, onto a separate card. So this is what it looks like. We have all of the states that I read from in 2025, with the most popular being California. I read 6 books taking place in California, 5 books taking place in New York, and 4 books taking place in Illinois. The rest of these states were only visited once or twice. And then on the back, I have all of the different countries that I visited, in total 23 other places, with the most popular being England and Canada. And now this can just live inside this page, so I can remember all of the travels I took in 2025 through books. Battle of the Kraken was my pirate-themed reading from my shelves TBR challenge. Basically, I kept a track of every time I was feeding my Kraken by buying a new book, and how many books I was reading from my shelves. And I did this in a couple ways, and I created a reward system which allows me to buy a new book anytime I finished a series, finished a backlist, or read 10 from my physical TBR. So these fun little cards in here were just an interactive way of me logging each of these accomplishments. These taller white cards are a list of an author backlist that I wanted to complete. So this year I finished every single book by Paula Hawkins by reading The Blue Hour. Whenever I would finish a series, I would mark down the series I completed, and then also would notate the book that I chose as my reward. For my TBR loyalty cards, anytime I would read a book that was a standalone, I would write the date I finished it on these cards, and after I would complete 10 books, I earned a new book. Finally, the last card is my TBR loyalty card. This is my own stamp system where any challenge that I completed throughout the year, I would get a little star. And as you can see, I finished 5 of the 6 challenges I sent out to do, with the exception of reading 25 books with my eyeballs. So this awarded me 5 new books for my shelves at the end of the year. My friends and I typically go on a Barnes & Noble book haul and go a little bit crazy. However, this year the book haul was not very good. I feel like anything that was on my list was not on sale, so it's kind of disappointing. So I'm holding out to purchase some fun ones online somewhere. Another pirate-inspired challenge I made this year is a challenge called Sail the Seven Seas. And this is a portion of the Read Around the World reading challenge, where you read books from different countries, either taking place in that country or by an author who was born or lived in that country. So for my purposes, I went with the setting, and I gave myself a list of the seven seas and any countries that bordered those seven seas. So if I read any books from any of these countries that bordered a seven sea, I would list it on my little chart here and put the little book cover linked to the sea that it corresponds to. I also felt it gave a really good mix of perspective for this area of the world. We've got some nonfiction, a classic, some historical fiction, some fantasy, and some Greek mythology. Then I have the 2023 year in Aldea. This was sort of a spread that I had set up for the new year, and then the creator of this readathon changed the map, so I had to create a whole new spread. And because I had already built this page and I still liked it, I just decided to print out a previous year's game and play it over the year. So this was my result of 2023. And then we get into book bingo. I like to play this blind, so my method in playing book bingo is every year I will write in 24 books that are in some way intimidating on my physical TBR, and then I will write in the coordinates of a place on the bingo map. And then I'll cover the coordinates in washi tape so I'm no longer able to see which book will land on which square. And then throughout the year, as I read those books, I can then peel off the washi tape and paste the book cover in the coordinating space. This has been so much fun, and there is no way you can manipulate the game since there's no memory of where each book corresponds on the chart. And at the very last second of 2025, I finally got a bingo. This is my love letters page. This is just the ABC challenge, in which you read a book that's title starts with each letter of the alphabet. So we've got Assassin's Blade for A, we have Little White Lies for L, XOXO for X, and 0 Days for Z. And then we have what I call my treasure trove, and I've just marked an X for each of the days that I finished a book. And anytime I finished a book with my eyeballs, you also get a little circle. I felt like this was a fun visual way to capture my reading habits without having to draw out a monthly journal every month like I did in previous years. And then we get into Adventures in Aldea 2025. This is the game board I previously mentioned. It's different dimensions and more interactive than the previous years, so I definitely wanted to create a different spread that really worked for this new game board layout. Inside, I have a section for each month of the year and which prompt I decided to read for and which book I chose for that prompt. This is my little animal familiar named Bo, and I like to think of him as traveling along the map as I read these books. At 2 parts of the year, we have our spring equinox and our fall equinox, and these are months where we do a more intensive readathon, whereas the other months of the year we're just reading 1 book per prompt. And in these months, we did some fun challenges this year. In the spring, we did a dragon rescue. And then in the fall, we did a kind of a pet collection. So I wanted to include all of those little creatures drawn by Logan in my journal here. I love that G and Logan upload all of these icons to the Google Drive so you can print them out. I just kind of stacked them and cut them out on paper so that I could paste them into my journal here. Then we get into my monthly spreads. For January, I made a cover page, and then I also pasted in some of the highlights of that month. I was doing a readathon called Winterween. I started my bookbinding journey and was obviously reading through Onyx Storm with a lot of the reading community. So it was a very fun month. This month in my journal, I really was inspired by the book covers to create my spreads. So for Once Upon a Broken Heart series, I love the UK covers with the beautiful stained glass design, so I brought that into my journal page. Same thing here with the bone houses. I drew out the cover of the book because I just loved it so much. I did this in a gold foil, and in my January video I go over the process of using different methods to get a gilded look in your journals. Here we have Once Upon a River. I just created a design that looked similar to the book cover using washi tapes and stamps, which I embossed in a gold gild. For my Onyx Storm read-along, I also used a pen embosser to gild the cover of this page and gave myself plenty of room for notes because I had so many thoughts on this book. In February, I participated in a readathon by Chloe Reads Books. And this spread is inspired by Katie is Reading. I loved that she did a little murder wall in her journal, and so I needed to create one myself. But this is the game board, and throughout the month you would roll a dice and solve your own murder by reading different prompts for different books. It was so much fun. Adrienne Young is one of my favorite authors, and I was so excited to get 2 books from her in 2025, starting with A Sea of Unspoken Things, and then later in November we got Fallen City, which is a new YA series, and that is still on my TBR shelf. I'm so excited to read it, but I know I'm going to want to sit down and spend a lot of time with it. In March, I participated in Realmathon, hosted by Covers with Cassidy. This is an interactive readathon where you join a team and each family gets different bonus points based on which books you're reading. And each book you read qualifies for points, so you're heavily incentivized to read books quickly. So I went with a lot of kind of shorter books, a lot of books that had non-human characters in it, because that was the goal of my team. And I ended up reading 18 books, which is just wild. That is not the norm. And then in here I have the point system for the readathon. Then we get into my reading reviews. And this month, I guess I was feeling lots of journaling because I wrote more about these books than I typically do. Circe was one of my favorite reads of the year, so definitely inspired this spread. And of course, vampires. Usually I save my vampire books for October, but because of Realmathon, I was digging into all of my vampire fantasy books. Ooh, the favorites. That was a really fun one. Literary fiction about ice skating, and it was just full drama. It was a really fun one to read with a book club. Lots to say. I read From Scratch, which is a memoir, and they also have a Netflix show, which is really cute but so sad. In April, I went to the LA Times Festival of Books with my cousin Becca, and we had a blast. It was wild to see so many readers just walking around, visiting their favorite authors and different booths. So it was a really fun experience. April was also the time of our spring equinox at Magical Readathon Aurelium Academy, and my guild was reading A Natural History of Dragons, so I used some of the illustrations in that book to create this spread, and I absolutely loved it, and I think I'm going to continue using this type of layout in my future Magical Readathon spreads because I really love how dynamic it turned out. On this page here, I have my syllabus and then all of the books that I read for my different classes. And then in this flap, I have a review for our guild book. That was also the month where we did our dragon rescue, so I have kind of all of the little dragons we rescued summarized here. I also finished the first Goodreads challenge of the year. Mostly by mistake, I got to the point where I only needed one more book, so I read The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes, and I got my first medal for that, but I didn't continue doing that throughout the year. These two books were some of my favorites. 6 Day in Bombay is like a mystery set in the 1930s in Bombay. And A River Enchanted was one of my favorite books of the year. I think probably my favorite book of all time. I really loved this duology. The Material of Eden, this was another really great book that I read. This is a author that I already knew and loved before reading this book, so I had an advanced reader's copy, but I just absolutely loved it, and I'm very excited for the second book in the trilogy to come out in 2026. Six Crimson Cranes was another great one. I love Elizabeth Lim's stories. They're so wrapped in folklore and also just really digestible, but the characters are so amazing. This is my least favorite spread that I made in my journal, which is a shame because I loved Sunrise on the Reaping. I keep saying I'll come back and redo this spread because I hate it so much, but for now it is the way it is, so moving on. In May, I also went to Pen Paper Palooza in Los Angeles. This was something that Leela Journals posted that she was going to have a booth there, and I saw that the day it was happening, so I got a last minute ticket and went to my first ever stationery festival, and it was everything I ever wanted. And they had these cute little stamps at all the booths, so I'm so glad I brought my journal with me so that I could put my stamps in here. But I got to meet Leela Journals and Savannah Scribbles and Mandy Journals, so it was really cool to see all of these creators that I'd followed for so long and get to meet them in person. I also participated in Escape the Readathon, which is hosted by Books with Lexi, and the theme of this readathon is to read prompts to gain access for your team to escape certain parts of a cruise ship so you can escape the ship before the killer kills you. And I tried to make this interactive by making these little slots that I could put some information in. And while it's a very cool idea, it's hard to get the things in and out, but it's fun to look through once in a while. I had a good time using some of the new stationery I got at Pen Paper Palooza. I love how these two tapes work so well with the book covers on this page. I continued in the Magnolia Parks world, which was so good. I really love the series. And I started the Red Queen series. I was obsessed, and then I still have yet to pick up the third book. So that's a goal for 2026 for sure. My June cover spread is just highlighting some different moments of the month and using some swag that I've got from different creators. Like Rachel launched her Home Buddy Book Club collection, so I had to get a sweater and some stickers there. And then this background page is from Des and Sarah's podcast, bookmarked. And then June became more of a romance read month. We had two of my romance books that I read. This is a historical fiction with a romance subplot. And then we get more into adventure. So we have Amina El-Sarafi and The Fire Endless. And I love this spread because, again, the first book in this duology is A River Enchanted. So there's this duality between water and fire. And that was also present in Amina El-Sarafi. So I really love how dynamic this page turned out. And this little flap just brings more life to the spread. I continued reading Throne of Glass after starting it at the end of 2024, and I still have yet to finish the series, but I did make some more progress. And then these books I wasn't too crazy about, so I feel like that reflected in the spreads I was doing. I was just using some of the washi tape that corresponded with the book covers. And that is the end of the first half of my journal. Again, I think it's so fun how all of the distressed edge pages turned out, but I will say I was excited to move on to a new journal and give myself a break from the distressing. And then Tiefossi sent me this journal, which went perfectly with my pirate themed journal. I felt like the colors and the gilded design just matched perfectly. And on this journal, they have gilded edges. So I decided not to do the distressed, but I don't know that it would have really made too much of a difference. You can see the pages obviously that are being filled in, but you can still see some of that edge to them too. So I'm glad I kept it this way. I am curious to see how I like it when the whole journal is complete. So just like in the start of my first journal, I wanted to carry that collage and mood into the second journal. So I dedicated this spread to another favorite pirate of mine, Amina Al-Sarafi, and just titled this page Chapter 2. I thought it would be helpful at this point to create a dashboard of all of the challenges that I was still in the middle of so that I could keep track of my progress and really finish a lot of those challenges that I set out to do at the beginning of the year. That way I wouldn't have to constantly be switching back and forth between my journals to find the information I needed. So up here, it was a summarized version of my Kraken challenge. Down here, we had a lot of the challenges I hadn't finished yet and like which bits of the challenge I still needed to focus on. I set aside a lore challenge for myself. This was just to read 3 more pirate books before the end of the year, but I only got to 2. And then I also needed a new space for some more pirates booty, more book hauls throughout the year, and I had just enough space. And because I'm crazy, I set up 2 more challenges for myself. This one's called Count to X, and essentially I'm just reading books that have a number word in their title. So we've got 0, 1, 2, I did not read for 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So I had 4 books that I still needed to continue that I didn't get to in 2025. On this side, we did a colors challenge or a read the rainbow challenge. But instead of choosing the book based on the color of the cover, I chose books that had a color word in the title. So we've got Red Queen, Priory of the Orange Tree, Yellow Wife, and so on. All of the books that I read had a color in the title. I also decided that I really love challenges that have 10 books. I feel like they're much easier to accomplish within the year, and you don't get tired of them, tired of working on them in between. In July, we had Summerween, which is just, again, a read some thrillers in a week during the summer. It's very fun and chill. I started listening to Plot Twist by Victoria Aveyard and Somon, and they just go over kind of drama in the publishing world and talk about what it's like to be experienced authors and reminisce back on their days as starting their journey as an author and writing their first books. It was also Ryan and Haley traveling 50 states in 50 days, which is amazing. They raised $11.5 million during this quest, which was so much more than any of his previous challenges like this, and it is just the most fun series to watch. So I don't know what they're going to do in 2026, but this is something I look forward to every year. I love this page. I think it looks so beautiful together, and it's wild because I took stickers from so many different places and shops, but I love how cohesive it looks. On pages like this, it's usually books that I don't have much to say about, so I try to couple them together with similar book covers, and then I just choose washi tape that matches the covers of the books as opposed to going with something a little bit more themed. In August, I received a Marigona Sully sticker haul, so of course I had to showcase her stickers because they're my favorite illustrations. And on this page, instead of making a full page cover for the month of August, I split it between a cover page and a book review page, and I actually really liked that. Sometimes I feel like having 2 pages for the start of the month is too much to decorate and to fill in well. So splitting it up like this worked really well for me, and I think it still looks super cohesive. I adore these pages. This was my first time doing a layout like this where I split the decorations kind of through the center of the page and then talked about 2 different books. I love how that layout turns out, and I did it a couple more times in the future pages of this journal. Lovely War was one of the most adorable books I've ever read, and I keep recommending it to everybody. But if you are a romance fan with a little tad bit of historical fiction and a tad bit of Greek mythology, this book is very high on my recommendations list. The 5 books here I have really had nothing to say about, so they're all on one page. But Shield of Sparrows was a really fun one. I'm looking forward to the second book in the series. I love a fantasy book that contains monsters. And I really liked the relationship and, you know, the love story within this book, which is very tricky to nail for me. But this one did it right, and I am really excited for where the story is going. I also just love this PET tape. Then I have Grave Flowers. This is a book by Autumn Krause, and she is an author that I discovered a couple years ago on another book that I really, really loved. But she kind of does dark gothic inspired YA fantasy, and this one is so good. It's about a princess who has to marry a prince from a neighboring country, but their countries have this animosity between them, and she's basically sent there to kill the prince. And so she's undercover, and there's poisonous flowers and all this lore behind that. There's ghosts. It's creepy in the best way. So this was some character art that was sent to me with the advanced reader's copy, as well as this. And then this is a collage I made just for the aesthetic and overall mood of the book. So if you like this aesthetic, you're gonna love the book. And then we have September. This is my least favorite cover page for the whole journal because it just looks like a bunch of random stickers and it doesn't feel like a well thought out design. And here's my example of, I don't know what to do with this much space in a reading journal. So I like splitting it up. I should have put all of this information on one page and done a book review on the other. So lessons learned, but you're not going to learn your style unless you try different things. And this was me trying something different. And then we get into our autumn equinox, having all the books that I read, the syllabus on the inside. For this month, our guild pick was A Sorceress Comes to Call, and I love this book so much, and I'm so glad because, again, the backdrop for this page ended up being so pretty. I did this with a gold watercolor on a black piece of paper just to mimic the book cover, and I feel like it's stunning, and I really love how this layout turned out. On this page, I did a collaboration with IEEBEE washi tapes. They sent me a whole pack of black washi tape, which is so necessary when you read a lot of fantasy books to have some good staple black tapes. So this was trying out some of their different designs to give you an idea of the quality. And as you can see, it's held up pretty well. Oh, and The Night and the Moth. This was one of my favorite books of this year. I'm so excited for the second one. I took tons of notes, but there was just so much imagery involved in this book, so I had to make some collages of different pictures that I found on Pinterest. This is another one of my favorite spreads. I feel like everything just feels very cohesive, but also organic. Her Radiant Curse is the final chapter in the Six Crimson Cranes universe, and I just loved it. It's a story of sisters, and it's tragic and it's magical, and I wept, I tell you. And then in October, this is always the best month to decorate because I love all things spooky and, you know, freaking bats and vampires and all the good things. So again, we're featuring some Marigona Suli artwork. And I really dug into a brown and maroon vibe, which I love. It's a little bit of a softer Halloween-y look. I read Dracula and I was amazed. Like, this was such an amazing book. Like, there's a reason classics have the notoriety that they do, and I don't know why I'm always shocked when I read one and I'm like, oh, that was actually really good. Of course it was, Amanda. Like, people have loved this for years, but you're just discovering it. So that was a really fun one to read. I also continued the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which, if you've seen my 2026 setup, you know that this series inspired the next theme for my journal, which is the Lord of the Rings. And then I slipped in some of these beautiful vellum pages, and for this spread, I added some stickers on top of the page to give it a more organic skeleton look, because the next book was Hazelthorn. It's like a nature-y horror book. I don't read a ton of horror, so I don't really know the subgenres, but it was excellent. It was so much fun. And then we had Play Nice. This is a book I would never pick up for myself, and we read it for one of my book clubs, and I got through it, and that's all I have to say. But this little sticker is something I found at Pen Paper Palooza, and her shop is so adorable. I'll link it down below. This was another really fun page I did. I just really embraced the yellow since so many of my books had yellow covers, and these were some little stickers from Mochi Bujo and an illustration, and I just feel like it all paired together perfectly. Then in November, we started off with another sticker sheet from Mochi Bujo. And I had just discovered some new pens that I really loved, so I'm starting to write down my reviews in different colors as opposed to just a black pen, and I really like how that turned out, so excited to keep using those. These are some character stickers from IEEBEE. On this page I did a collage of the different Little Women adaptations throughout the year with my favorite Jo and Laurie here. To complement the Jo and Laurie book that I read, this is a retelling of Little Women with the perspective of if Jo and Laurie were to end up together. It was really sweet, and I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. Here's another example of me using that same kind of centered layout. I feel like it's a very easy layout to make because I'm just layering some washi tape and sticking the book covers in, which is essentially also what I did over here, but it just gives a different pacing to the book and makes the page flow a little bit different. I used an old copy of The Fellowship of the Ring to make my reading journal for 2026, so obviously I have so many more pages to use in there, and that included a map of Mordor. So for my book spread on the third book in the Lord of the Rings series, Return of the King, I wanted to include the Mordor map because we spend a lot of time there. For my December cover spread, I used a couple different sticker sheets from Marigona Suli. So this is a mix of 3 different sticker sheets, and I paired that with a new addition to the Lightfall Readathon, which is Dovanthia's flower arrangement. And the idea for this readathon is that throughout the month you are playing bingo by reading for 8 different squares, and then you have activities in the outer bingo board. As you read and do these activities throughout the week, you can earn yourself a bingo, and each bingo will then earn you a little treat at Dovanthia's flower arrangements. On this side, I just included the 2 book reviews for the books that I read to accomplish everything in the readathon. This was a fun activity I did in December. I chose a book to make a reading advent where you read a chapter every day until Christmas. And I chose this book because it had 23 chapters, which I felt was perfect. And I made a book cover out of just a brown paper bag and illustrated it similar to one of the doodles in the book. So once that was completed, I just cut everything out that I drew and I made a little frame around the page. But this was fun because I actually got to see this author in person and go to her book signing, so I have some pictures of that night, and this page just feels very special. I love how this page turned out. I really tried to use the color scheme of the covers, but I needed so much room to write because I had many thoughts about all 3 of these books. This was a fun spread that I made for a book called The Merge. I was really inspired by the book cover, so I went with a black page and then I used some iridescent watercolor to try to mimic the paint strokes in the cover of the book. And these are my final book review pages. This is as far as I got in the Throne of Glass series with Queen of the Shadows, but I'm excited to continue on with this further. And then the last page of my 2025 reading journal is my Sales and Tales readathon, which if you are new to my channel, this is something free that you can do if you want to, but it's a couple different game boards inspired by my pirate themed. And then we have about half of the journal left to fill with more book reviews. And because I have about half left, I think I'm going to be using this for the second half of my year in 2026, because I think it can hold up. If I got a little further on in the journal, I probably would have just done like some statistics or added some pictures or whatever, but I think there's too much of this journal left to not fill up. So that's the plan as of right now. We'll see if I change my mind and find another journal that I want to play with, but overall I would say it's a very full year of reading. I read so many amazing books, and it's just been an honor to share these on YouTube with y'all and get your feedback and encouragement along the way. So thank you guys for helping me find my style, to try new things out, and just get to participate with you on different readathons, and hearing that I shared a book and you read it and you loved it, and those kind of comments just make my day. So thank you so much for being here and letting me share my art with you. I hope you have an amazing 2026, and I look forward to sharing a new video with you soon. Bye.